Hey light beings, today we check in and touch base with Meta, the world of Meta and where it is going. And this is going to be short and snappy. I just want to really hone in on the main things that stood out to me from the Meta Connect, but in regards to my prophecy and foresight. That's what we're doing here. Call me what you will, I am the hermetologist, and this is what I foresee based off of the Meta Connect and my analysis of it, pulling on the main themes that stood out to me. Mixed reality keywords, real-time keywords, immersive experience keywords. We'll be using a lot more immersive reality, immersive experience. So much more conversations around real-time, and we're talking about that real experience that's really famous and so predominantly driven. What's my point with that? We're just talking about TikTok, let's say, right? That whole engagement through that real shuffle. But what's more interesting is I look at that as in REAL as well, who are talking about things happening now in real time. Real time specific is what's going to be immersing a lot more. Yeah, doing things more in real time. And what's nice about that is they do have the Meta Avatar and SDK, the developments of all of that, which is making things look so phenomenally lifelike with some of the stuff that they showed us they're working on. And with that, what I thought was really incredibly nice as well was the fact that everyone can now engage without having to show their face. Their avatar will suffice. I thought that was nice. But also interesting alarm bells for me and my alignment with the government in the United Kingdom, really trying to make sure we're dealing with technology right, is the encryption and authentication of avatars and how we monitor these kind of things. In previous predictions or for this whole series of a look into the future, we've really tried to bring in different governments and different key players that are going to be involved in this stuff. When we're looking at encryption and in authentication, we're talking about accounts like Reddit at this time, software like Reddit that has not safe for work, but it's flooded with what looks like to me teenagers. Okay, I know we don't know their age officially, but I'm sorry, way too much what looks like the younger generation thriving off Reddit over 18 content. How do we clean that up? How do we manage that? How does that not flood into a major issue in the metaverse and with AR and VR? That's a big concern. So governments really should be looking into that. The encryption and authentication. This is a big issue as well for the United Nations, but it's also a big issue for when we're talking about extraterrestrial bodies and activities of extraterrestrial bodies and organizations and extraterrestriality, if I can get the word out. I'm going to lose so many of you guys here, but that's fine, because we there's so much things going on a much larger global scale regarding safety, encryption, authentication. What are we doing with all of the people that do not have sufficient ID? Well, there's a big issue that's going to be coming up, and this is main prediction number one here, is we're looking at major people that are going to struggle to get onto some online services because they cannot provide the encryption and authentication documents. Imagine right now you can't travel border to border without your passport or visa or ID or your immigration status card, all of that. What about all the refugees? What about all other wars that are going on around the world now? Bet you could name at least one. And think about all of that, and then consider what happens to all of these people that just are ending up in different places without the right documentation. How are they getting on to what will be in the future a very secure platform? We have stateless people now, right, in the jungle and all of these kind of places, and in these what are they called? Where you go to the kind of location before you get sent back to your country, where you're waiting to be deported. Yeah, those deporting prisons basically are what they are, where everyone's waiting in what looks like pretty much prison to be deported back to their country, waiting for their case to be heard, got no money because they're actually not citizens of the state or where they're from, and they're struggling. That statelessness now on the ground. The hermatologist is very concerned about statelessness on the platform, virtually. Digital statelessness. We haven't heard that yet. Let's throw that out there. Digital statelessness, a really big thing. That's going to stem from all of this, yeah? So my concern with that is, with my background in child development, firstly, what about all of these children, migrant children that come over? How are they going to get easy access to the same resources that all the other children have, that actually have the right kind of authentication documents to get online? Because this is a real thing. And what then happens to the dark web? If the dark web is what it is now, what happens to that as a virtual space? And what happens to all the people who can't get online and they start moving to the dark web, even if they're not dark people, if they're not hackers and sex traffickers and pedophiles and leaders of the worst kind, like gang lords or drug lords and assassins for hire? All of that stuff, it's real, people. So all of that stuff, right? Let me be serious. Sorry, I'm excited to share. But all of that stuff, we're going to be driving a whole community underground. Underground digitalization, new one. Underground. I'm writing this down, guys. If no one watches this, it's fine, because this makes perfect and utter sense to me. Right. Two key words we are throwing at you today, because of what we've seen come up from Meta, is a concern about digital statelessness and underground digitalization, right? So the whole digital community going off grid, going black, going underground to survive and sustain, because they are not allowed on the public platform that's so regulated already. For example of how this is already somewhat of a thing, I know people that don't like Facebook or Instagram. And actually, in order for them to go and check out someone else's account or a post that they've been sent, they can go to the account, but they can't really scroll down for more than like 10 seconds, because then they cut off and need to log in. That's already Meta creating that ecosystem of you're not a part of us. Log in, please. Register your data. Agree to our terms and conditions to come over here and surf. Do you get it? So that's obviously going to amp up even more when the Congress and Senate really start pushing forward with more concerns. Because actually, what did Senate Peters say at the Congress meeting with when he kind of spoke about Homeland Security? He had an incredible phrase and statement that blew my mind, because it's everything that I've been working on for such a while now. Let me tell you guys, I've got the notepad out for this. That's how you know it's special. I'm such a nerd, it's unreal. Right, okay. There is a clear connection between online content and offline violence. That was the Homeland Security Chairman, Senate Peters, and I was just absolutely blown away with that statement in his opening speech. And it just summed up everything that's going on right now. And obviously the issue with Congress that day is Homeland Security, is the violence that's been going on in regards to the neo-Nazi events in 2017, the attack on the Capitol, obviously that was a big deal, the stop and steal, the black shooting that was streamed live in Buffalo, I believe. All of that kind of stuff, super heavy, super weighty. And the main thing that the Senate said was, there is a clear connection between online content and offline violence. And for me, I broke that down even further, and I said there is a clear connection between online content and offline reality, right? And now, online content isn't even the word we should be using anymore, because actually it's online reality. It's online reality now, guys. So there is a clear connection between online reality and offline reality. That's what we should be saying, right? Scary. Just making notes, sorry crew. Okay, so moving on. What else stood out to me, because this is really about Meta, but I mean Meta takes us all over the globe because it is Meta. Let's talk about the biggest tech corps that are going, right? Anyway, we've got some NFT stuff written down here. AR glasses. Do you know what? This is what I also prophesized, and I thought was really quite nice. Is I see how they done the Ray-Bans, which I thought, okay, great. I mean, I'm so ahead of time in my mind space and creatively and visually. I was like, is that where we're at? Because I've already seen the glasses with a full-on clear lens and practically no frame around it, and you can run up the whole analytics through that glass screen because it's got a clear film against it, which is like somewhat kind of like hieroglyphic paneling that sits on top of the glass as like a contact lens on the glass screen that transmits all of that. So screens, actual visual screens, are coming into actual film. Imagine that. Do you get what I'm saying? You know, when we started off with the days where things were on film, videotape, that the thing inside the videotape, the old windy things. I'm not even that old, so I can't tell you what spins up, the trajectory one, right? The actual Kodak moment. Imagine we've gone so far into the future since those days that now we're mirroring ourselves back, and we're going to bring that film back and lay it somewhat in a brand new way onto a glass lens to actually virtually engage through AR technology. God damn, doesn't that sound juicy, right? I'm with you too. It's amazing. So for me, that's fascinating, but we're miles behind, especially with the Ray-Ban design. Black, thick, gross. Don't enjoy the camera at the side. That should be changed. The whole form, dreadful. Prototype 1, well, it's more than a prototype, which is cringe, but we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it, Meta. If that's the best you and Ray-Ban can do right now, fine. We'll take it. We're growing. But I would enjoy the way that the music's listened to. That's slightly got to change as well. I can't remember where the notes are for that, but I did see a whole new model of how those Ray-Ban glasses Ray-Ban will innovate the whole thing. And I don't know when they're bringing out that film thing. I'm assuming it's them because they're ahead of time, but that's nice. And also I'll add what will be a next feature, or should be a next feature, is the pause, rewind and playback feature through the glass, through the vision of the glasses. Because what's going to happen in future, which is going to be a massive revolutionary kind of project that really starts to take over clinical fields as well. And actually I've got law, jury, this will be used as jurors will use this, testimony, police cams that are currently used now, teachers in classrooms. You know, when teachers are not allowed to be left unattended in the classroom, there will be glasses that and kind of visual effects that we can have from the teacher's perspective, especially if it's a school that is extremely violent and there's a lot of teachers, a lot of school shootings moreover, but not only that, a lot of teachers being abused or beaten up. You know the violent culture, or if there's issues around dormitories and stuff like that, then these glasses kind of will be used in a safe way, registered to the office and the school supplies, where safety and cybersecurity and stuff is monitored, but through the lens of the user, because they will be in VR state sometimes when moving around the building. Sorry, not VR, AR. Let's start accepting that actually VR, although it's kicking off now, for me, 7 years ahead, VR's now old and AR's now the boom ting. Yeah, I'm 7 years ahead, but this is all going to lead up to the next 7 from what I get, right? Also, I do want to make anyone really aware who enjoys decentralization, Web3, and is just really into tech and tech nerd, which I am indeed. And I want to just share with you guys an observation that I've made, which was about the bottom-up, top-down philosophy surrounding big tech versus the decentralization community. Now, from what I can see is there's all this kind of gorgeous blockchain technology spanning out across space and time. So many innovators and creators are creating gorgeous platforms, apps, software, whatever you want to call it, code. We're spread out wide with the creation. Some of it is absolutely totally 3D and not digitalized yet, but the way in which these innovators are going, it's going to be really easy for them to switch over to digitalize. Also, a major forecast, as I'm still channeling this, is I would also say any company at this time that would class themselves as a micro or meso corporation are going to absolutely struggle, because now is the time to upscale massively. If you want to look at all the micro corporations and how far they've jumped, what their manifesto is or their 10-year plan, where they're going long term, and then you're going to want to jump as much steps as they've jumped, their money, their investments, their plans. You want a wider scope of that, because there's a lot of shifts that need to happen. I am personally really scared about micro companies. So we're talking about the sole traders at the really bottom of the rung. We're talking about not some entrepreneurs, yes, the kind of social media influencers. They're coming to the bottom of the rung, to be fair. That branding niche and those sponsors and those deals that are coming from their meso companies are just not even going to be enough to sustain them. A lot of meso companies are going to go bust if they don't upscale. So when I talk about meso, I'm talking about, from my background, I would say like Boohoo, a bit of ASOS, if ASOS is still kind of there, Pretty Little Thing, massive kind of recognition. So those kind of corporations, but we can spread them out in regards to Adidas is higher up than that. It's more recognized, but that's the levels there. And then if we're talking about micro in that same context, then we're talking about that boutique down the road with the nice trainers, or those kind of boutique one-off shops, that sole trader energy as well. That's the micro. If the micro's really going to struggle to stabilize at this time, so as we're shifting upwards, trying to upscale or e-commerce everything, reduce warehouse, reduce expenditures and improve outgoing, right? You maximize return on investment, basically. That this is interesting for Meta and VR, because a lot of that freedom can be provided through a lot of the digitalization of everything, because there's going to be so much more shops online, VR shopping experiences where you can just go to Selfridges and IKEA and Costco through VR. As if you would shop around in Costco through VR, get all your shopping, leave, and then it's on its way to your house. Because someone's actually either walking around, you've booked in a VR slot at Costco for 2 p.m. on a Saturday, and now this person's tailing down the aisles you've asked them to go to, picking up your stuff, and then they're delivering it to your house. Hello, new Uber. VR Uber, anyone? It is a reality, people. So you've got to understand, I'm talking about Meta, and I came here to do Meta predictions. Can you see how just Meta alone, being what Meta is spreading out to all of these other corporations, because they're leading the way in VR, and because they own so many platforms already. On another transmission I put out, which I think was the economic rundown, I spoke about how much I like Mark Zuckerberg and big tech, regardless of all the harsh feedback and the data issues that I have a real concern with everything, but we've got to evolve. And the thing for me is, Mark keeps doing this. He's just done it again. They're like, damn, Mark, at it again with the innovation. Changing the game. He's changed the game again, because if he thinks in his head that, oh, wow, I really didn't realize how big Facebook was going to be when I made it in college. Mark, you still don't even know how, or do you? No, you must do. Do you know how massive this is, what you've just done now? Because you've just started that whole cycle again. And we've seen how many times you've gone to court and you've been pressured by the government over what you've created. And now you've taken it to VR. The intensity on what you create and what it's going to become in 7 years' time is going to be humongous. And once again, it's going to have the exact same benefits and flaws that it has had since the beginning. Positive and negative, yin and yang, ebbs and flows. It's not easy to be an innovator and a creator of that degree, and to produce all of this amazing stuff, knowing that there's always going to be a dark side, a dark tendency, people that are going to use it in the wrong way, and things that need to be refined and improved. It's really difficult, man. So difficult for him to do what he does. So I have so much love and admiration for it, because it's changing the world. And this is ordained. This is meant to happen. So, I mean, he's doing what he is guided to do. He's living in his truth and his purpose and innovating the world, because one way or another it's going to happen. And actually, when it comes to Meta and we have all these concerns about the data and the privacy, imagine, unfortunately, the first time I'm ever saying this out loud as well, to self and to you guys, is Meta is something of a privilege to us in the future. Because what will spiral out of this around the dark pocket holes of the web that's left unreserved now, because the merger of Meta taking everyone on board with it, including Microsoft now. So who has Meta not got under the umbrella? That's the question. I'm not going to reel off everyone's name. Who is not under the Meta umbrella? And actually, how long before they become part of the Meta umbrella? Because actually no one else, unless Elon wants to hop into the race, or Jeff Bezos wants to hop in to the race, I don't see, no one's even got the Meta, I want to say the Meta Binance. What do I mean by that? Stay tuned for that, right? But they haven't got that. So either way, it's a situation of that the pockets that are going to be left open as we ascend into Web3, leaving www behind, all the dirty little gaps of infiltration where the creeps hide. Soz creeps, hackers and nerds, okay, there's a collective that I enjoy, but the creeps that hang around under the radar, they're going to have full terrain of these little dirty pockets on the web. That's going to filter through AR, VR, extra pockets, and create so many cyber safety concerns. Let's talk about episodes of like CSI, Cyber, which is my favourite CSI, may I add. And when the baby monitors in there were hacked. And the baby units and cameras and stuff in the house were hacked. And from my understanding, CSI Cyber was based on real cyber events that had happened around the world that they pulled on to create stories around. So imagine if we were using baby monitors and stuff like that, like walkie-talkies, you could pick up on other people's stuff. Imagine the easiness that's going to happen the more tech we have in our house. And when you have glasses on your face where you can rewind, pause, and go through your day, you're going to have your stalker X hacking your glasses, watching you all day. Do you get it? It's a real thing, people. This is really gonna happen as well. Like, are we aware, or am I the only one sitting here scratching my head in my cave, looking out at the mountaintops? Because goddamn. Okay, let's keep going. If you are enjoying this, please do hit the like, darling, please. All right. Also, I want to tap in on the iCams one more, because did I mention clinical healthcare professionals? If you're left alone with a healthcare professional, because there are going to be issues for healthcare, like when you go and get a smear, or you get you get your womb inspected and stuff like that, yeah, uterus checked up. Sometimes if that's done by a man, people could be really uncomfortable by that, opposite sex or whatever. But if you're with the NHS and you're not paying, you have to get the doctor that you get. And there has probably been loads of lawsuits, but I can't tell you how many, where people have been violated by their nurse or doctor. I would outrightly say I was violated anally. Because I did not want the enema, and I was screaming, no, don't give me the enema. But either way, there was 3 nurses around me, and they rammed the enema into my anal. Now, I'm sorry we've gone here on this transmission. This is not appropriate or Meta related, but is it? Does Meta even take us into anal conversation? Yes, it does. Because if I decided to report that as a crime and I was truly hurt, anyone else would have been, but I let it go. Clearly not fully, because I'm sharing it with you now. But the fact is, I could have taken that further. I could have really complained. And the level of cases that are going to be showing up over the next decade, less than that, 4 years, I say, of people claiming that doctors have touched them inappropriately. I have seen loads of stuff about GPs one GP told a woman, she had told several women they had breast cancer, so they could come in every week and he could feel their breast. I wish that was a joke, guys. That's a genuine story. That's a genuine doctor who was disgraceful. So imagine that kind of stuff coming up more and more across the world. There's going to be desire to kind of make sure you're wearing glasses during it, or the tech that we're using is covering all of this. And there's going to be people like the woman lying down may be wearing glasses, filming it from her scene, and the doctor may be wearing glasses and filming it from his scene, and we'll be watching both of them back in court as actual evidence and testimony for or against the claimant. Juicy, isn't it? This is what Meta is doing, people. You've got to understand how much their ecosystem impacts the rest of the world, because they are the leading decentralized digitalization. Believe it or not, right? Because we're all out here as young, for me, I'm out here as a young entrepreneur moving into the digital decentralization space from my own really unique standpoint. And I'm coming straight in and I'm like, well, Meta's king of that. Meta is decentralized. 100%. They're just big tech decentralized. They're just corporate decentralization. They're an umbrella. They can use the different words. At the end of the day, they're a conglomerate. It's the same thing when you break it down. You slice it and dice it. It's the same fractals inferring on the rest of the world. They're doing it in the best way they can. They're managing it. There's influences all the way around. Let's keep going a little bit more, though. We are nearly done. If you are enjoying this, please do hit the like. So, also, what I found interesting was when they spoke about home entry points, yeah? Really concerned about home invasions and stuff like that based on people understanding where you live and what your environments look like, because a lot more children will be wanting to share their bedrooms on these different VR chats and spaces that allows them to connect with their friends from school and whatever. Mum, can I get the VR bedroom set up? Can I get this? Can I get that? And everyone's going to have the full mirror images of their bedrooms and their personal private spaces, their whole house mapped out. Not only that, their streets and their location is going to be more exposed than ever. Yeah, we can go ghost like we do on Snapchat now within a certain radius, but I mean creeps out there will still be able to see the moment you fall off the map and you're no longer in that proximity, and that's when we've got to go, damn, okay, how are we protecting everyone here? Not only that, what I find really interesting coming from a developmental background and child development as well, what I find interesting is the avatar impact on children. Because what I have studied quite intently is, I don't know if you've seen loads of videos on YouTube about the black and white doll. And you put a black and white doll in front of loads of black children and they all kind of say, I like the white doll, their hair's better, their skin colour's better, that kind of stuff. And then on reverse, actually, quite a lot of white children done the same, an interest in the opposite race. But different studies throughout space and time will tell you different results depending on who's done it and where around the world it took place and what social group it included. Same with the Bobo doll, where like children mirrored behavior that they were seen in a character, and then they went and copied what that character done afterwards. So the role of the avatar is going to be highly significant. And how do we encourage children to better self-identify using the right skin color, the right hair color, and the right eye color? And furthermore, is that important now? Because in primary school and when you're a young child in nursery and you're learning about body and face, you're encouraged to draw yourself and then label the body parts. That's a really important stage of early development. This is meta related, stay with me. But as we evolve through that, in what way are we looking at how important it is for children to still really understand their self-portrait? Because so many of parents right now put filters on all of their kids and do those stupid animal Snapchat filters all the time, and their kids just spend hours on the phone looking at Snapchat filters of themselves and don't want to see anything else. And loads of parents will just have filters of their family all day. So is there going to be some issues with dissociation there from self in reality versus self in the AR space through a filter? Moreover, some children that I have seen will use different kind of complexions and as a way to identify either lighter or darker and be like, no, that's my complexion. And if you say, well, actually, I think this is your complexion, they'll go, no. So we're talking about preference, understanding identity as well. How can we feed in healthy ideologies of gender, race, religion, hair color, uniqueness, selfhood and identity really through the lens of avatars, making sure it is safe and educational and the right facilities are there for everyone to manage who they are. Bearing in mind that some kids are going to want to show up as Iron Man and unicorns and bearded ladies. Do you get what I mean? And if you go back to my previous reading that's out when we talk about lamppost syndrome, I think that's in the future predictions of porn. Then you can hear about lamppost syndrome, and that's kind of one of the things hermatology are talking about in relation to excessive use of VR and psychological well-being in that context as well. So we're going to move forward a little bit more. We're nearly done, but I wanted to tap in on well-being software and how important that is, and that's a big part of what I'm working on, the hermatologist under hermatology. And there is a lot of fun stuff I want to talk about. And I will say trading cards are a big thing. We love Pokemon over here. And we also admire Sidemen at this time, who are producing Sidemen clothing. And I think their last advert that they put out on YouTube, just advertising their stuff, really screamed NFT, VR, virtual shops. As a really nice space I can see them moving into in the future, which really inspired me to put out some forecasts for the retail industry and what's going to happen with VR technology and how we're going to be able to do really nice VR shopping, like I gave you that Costco example. So if you're interested in that, there's going to be a retail industry forecast coming out, and I'm really going to break down so many shops that are going to be merging and the way that we're shopping and how that's going to change. Once again, specifically mainly in the UK, because that's where I'm based and I've got the better demographics and economic resources to analyze that than I would around the world. But obviously this is also prophecy and spirituality combined with my epic scientific skills and abilities. You're welcome. The last thing I'm tapping on with my ego is GMO, is what I've got written here. Genetically modified organisms, scientific research, lab work. I thought this was fun and I thought we would share it because I felt like Meta will be really involved in the production or the change really in how research experiments are conducted. So, you know, we'll do like stuff in the laboratory, loads of tests. I mean, a lot more stuff could now be done through VR, and different kind of chemical compounds and formulas could be run into a machine learning program, a little bit of AI for you, and it would really nicely produce some really, really dope results, at least some kind of molecule testing from it's a very complex model, what I'm describing, but it will feel like the real, I don't know what to say. There is we will also do a scientific research future predictions where I go in on scientific research and what that's going to look like in the future, because actually I would like to tap in on the qualitative side of that, the quantitative side of that, chemistry, biology, ecology, numerology, geometry as well. Actually, yeah, that sounds epic. I'm really gassed up. So I love you all, and I really do hope you've enjoyed that. This is a brand new series we're coming with. I am tweaking it and getting comfortable in delivering such a bulk of information as quickly as I can, as informative as I can, in as clear way as I can without it being scripted, because I just like to keep it real, okay? So I love you all. Thank you so much. Hit the like, do subscribe, and I will be back with the scientific report on the future of tech, but then also whatever else I spoke about that I would do as well, which I didn't write down. Please hit me in the comments and tell me what else I said I was going to do for you, and then I will do it. There's one more thing and I can't find it. Okay, love and light, collective.